What if the natural world, the whole survival of the fittest thing, wasn't actually about conflict at all? What if it could be a place of perfect harmony? Well, today we're diving into this really beautiful spiritual story about a forest where a single divine presence brings peace to everything. It's a fascinating idea, so let's get right into it.
And this idea right here, this is the heart of the entire narrative. It sets this really mystical tone from the get-go. We're not just talking about a calming influence. This is hinting at a power so profound, it doesn't just, affect the forest. It totally transforms its very nature.
All right, so where does all this happen? Well, our story takes us deep into this incredible sanctuary. It's a place where the wildness of nature and the sacred totally overlap, and where the normal rules of life, well, they start to bend a little.
So I want you to just imagine a forest that feels, well, truly alive. And I don't just mean with trees and animals. We're talking about a place with a sense of peace you can almost feel in the air. The story really paints this picture of a magical realm, something totally separate from our everyday world.
And this feeling of peace, it's not just a feeling. It actually becomes something you can see. It's a really powerful image. Wherever this central figure walks, the whole forest just fills with this divine light. And we're not talking about regular sunlight here. It's more like the holiness of the place is literally shining.
So, who is this figure walking through this incredible setting? It's Jesus. And the story presents him in a really interesting way, not as some distant, untouchable God, but as someone who is just so approachable, embodying all this kindness, love, and wisdom. He becomes, in a sense, the shepherd of this wild forest.
Okay, so his presence doesn't just change the scenery. It also has this huge impact on the inhabitants, the animals. And this is where things get really extraordinary. Because in this next part of the story, that barrier we see between humans and animals, it just completely dissolves.
And it's not just the gentle animals like deer and birds coming up to him. This is the truly miraculous part. You've got lions and rabbits, predator and prey, hanging out together without a single trace of fear. Think about that. The most basic laws of the wild are just paused. And in their place, there's this universal feeling of safety.
But the connection goes even deeper than just them feeling safe. Get this, he can actually communicate with them. They don't just feel safe around him, they feel completely understood. So much so that they trust him enough to open up about their biggest struggles and their conflicts with each other.
So with all these problems finally out in the open, you have to ask, right? How are they fixed? Well, this next part really gets to the core message of the story, all about healing and what it means to forgive.
And the method is it's so beautifully simple, but at the same time, it's really deep. It all starts with just listening, not with judgment, but with total, boundless compassion. And from there, he doesn't just order them to stop fighting. No, he teaches them about the power of forgiveness and then shows them how that forgiveness is the actual path to unity.
Yeah, and this idea right here just hammers home what the key tools for this transformation really are. It's not some magic trick or a divine order that fixes everything. It's all about putting two incredibly powerful ideas into practice: love and forgiveness. He's actually empowering the animals to fix their own relationships. So what happens when this kind of radical forgiveness takes hold? Well, the impact isn't just small and contained. It radiates outward, kind of like a ripple in a pond, and it creates this massive, harmonious change through the entire ecosystem.
The forest goes through a total transformation. That default setting of fear and struggle that we think defines the natural world, it gets completely replaced by trust and harmony. All the conflict just melts away into this deep sense of unity, turning the whole place into a genuine sanctuary. And believe it or not, the transformation doesn't even stop with the animals. The story makes it really clear that this peace spreads to everything. The trees, the river, the very air, every single part of the forest starts to vibrate with this new harmony. It's a complete holistic healing of the entire environment.
All right, so as we start to wrap this beautiful story up, what's the big lesson we're supposed to take from it all? Because really, this isn't just a story about a magical forest, right? It's a parable, and it's got a message in it for every single one of us.
The ultimate goal here, what the story is pointing to, is what you could call true harmony. And that's not just, a lack of fighting. It's the active presence of love, kindness, and compassion that weaves this unbreakable connection between all living things.
You can pretty much boil the whole story's wisdom down to these four big truths. First, that love is a universal language that goes way beyond species. Second, that kindness is your best tool for fixing conflict. Third, that forgiveness is what really builds unity. And finally, the big one, that all of us, all living beings, are connected.
And so, all of this leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. The story of the shepherd shows this huge, grand transformation, right? But remember how it all started? With simple acts of listening and kindness. So the final thought is this. What's one small act of compassion that you can do today to bring just a little piece of that harmony into your own world? Thanks so much for joining me for this one.